Oh yeah, there we go. All right. So we have that. And I'm excited to share with you guys. So originally I was going to have one of the Cutco sales professionals or somebody else on this talk, on this message, because I love hearing them talk. And well, frankly, I can't breathe very well. But I also am, on my way out for a little bit. And I had asked our team, I said, I really would love to give our guys some goods and stuff that really helped me so much elevate my sales when I first started, because when I first started the job, my average order was not that sexy. I had a $140 average order. Okay. I had a 40% closing ratio. Nothing to go brag about. Okay. I had friends who had $600 average orders or more. They were closing 80, 90% of the time. And I was like, dang, like I want to do that. And there were some things. I sat down with my manager because, I remember him asking, he's like, Kathy, is this something that you're like, that you want to do, that you're excited to do, right? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And he's like, okay. He's like, can I help you? Can I help coach you? Can I help mentor you? And I was like, absolutely, right? And there were some little things that he did, and we walked through together that really were transformational, for my business. And this is something that I want to see if we have time. And we've got a couple of Cutco sales professionals. I've seen them running around. I saw Kyle, I saw Angela, I saw others that you guys will get to learn from as well. But I wanted to share some tips that really shifted my sales from the $140 average order with a 40% closing to having an $800 average order by the time the summer was over with an 87% closing ratio. Would anyone be excited about that, by the way? All right. And here's what I'll tell you guys in our business, and really I've noticed in life, that the difference between below average and above average are very little things. Like it's little shifts, it's little things that make a very big difference. I don't know if there's going to be anything that I tell you today. They're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But there are some things that I know were really helpful for me. And so the first thing that I want to talk when it comes to closing big, anyone want to guess what the number one most important thing that you need to have, do, whatever? What's most important to closing big sales? Anyone want to take a stab at what's the number one most important thing? Nailed it. Mindset and confidence. Got it? All right. And so I'm going to tell you guys that closing big orders, all right, number one, all right, starts with your mindset. And so for me, mindset is confidence and expectations. Okay. When I started this job, I did not expect people to purchase Cutco. I didn't. It was a lot of money. I grew up very poor, very low income. I had no idea. I didn't know anyone, quote unquote, that could spend this kind of money. And so I did not have confidence that I would have sales because holy crap, who spends $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 on knives? And I didn't realize a lot of people do, actually, And even when I started, I remember doing a presentation with my parents, and my parents are not, the most qualified customers at the time. And I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with 6 people in it. By then, my dad had a pretty stable job when I started this, and they actually had bought their first house, which was cool when I was in college. But I just remember him saying, he's like, I went to the store, like I've been looking for good stuff. And Kathy, the top stuff in stores, and he showed me, he's the person who pulled up Macy's and Williams and Sonoma for me when I started. Okay. And he's like, look, Kat, look at what this costs. It's over $2,000. Like I want a good set. Like my dad loves to cook, by the way. He's the cook in the house. And he's like, and I really wanted a good set of knives for our house. He's like, so we've been looking at Macy's. We've been looking at Sur La Table. We've been looking at Williams Sonoma. And like, here's what you're going to find. And I was like, whoa, and he's like, that's what knives cost. He's like, you have to understand what things cost in life, right? Like if you want a nice phone, are you going to get a nice phone for $50? No, that's not what a nice phone costs. A nice phone costs at least $500, if not more. Like all your really nice phones with nice cameras, right? What do they go for? 1,000, 200 more. So if you're looking for a good a nice phone with a good camera, you're going to spend 500 bucks or more. Yes or no? Right? Like that's the market, right? If I want a nice car, that's reliable, that's good on gas, that's going to take me everywhere I want to go, and I want to buy a nice vehicle, and even if I'm going to buy it, secondhand, but I'm going to go to CarMax, but I want to buy a nice car that's going to last me 10, 15 years. What should I expect to be paying for a nice car? 10 grand or more, 10 grand or more. A new one, 20 grand or more, right? But I could get a used one at CarMax for 10 or 12 grand that'll last a little while, all right? But there's no way in hell I'm going to pay 3 grand and expect to have this car for 10 plus years and for it to work great. If I buy a car for 3 grand, it's because I just need it to last a couple of years. I just need to get me through to here, because who knows what's going to happen with that, right? And so it's just having proper price expectancy. If I'm going to buy a 4-bedroom house in Houston, on a low end, what am I looking at to buy a 4-bedroom house in Houston? 200 on up. And in the nicer areas, yes, 400 on up, which I heard someone say. Absolutely. All right. And so this was something that my dad was talking. He's like, Kathy, you just have to know what things cost. Like if you're selling, you're working with watches or you're working with this, like you need to understand what it costs. And at that time, my dad had a really nice Seiko he had gotten I forgot what it was, but it was like a very special occasion he had received this. And that watch was a couple grand, right? And it's probably the nicest thing my dad owned until we purchased Cutco, all right? And he said, do you know how much this watch is? And like nice watches. And if you're talking Rolexes, right? Like Cody's got his Rolex on his wrist. So I got my Rolex. Thank you, Cutco. I've got this one. And then I have the big Submariner that's like 27 grand. All right. I'm like, I'm wearing a damn car on my wrist. All right. I don't personally value watches. I wear it because it was a gift from Cutco and it represents a certain level of achievement that I'm very proud of with our team and our people. But the fact is, I don't even have my Rolex on right now. Okay. It's like actually in my bag. I forgot to put it on. All right. But I'm not a watch wearer. And for nice occasions, I'll put it on or whatever. And so personally, I would never spend that on a watch, even though our president of Cutco, Amar Dave, is obsessed with watches and has a watch collection that's probably worth millions. Okay. And I remember going on company trips and going on the Cayman cruise and doing these things. And they were like, oh, we got these. We only paid 100 grand. They're normally 200 grand. I'm like, what? I remember one of the other vice presidents, he's like, oh, I got it for 60 grand. They were like fired up because they're like, in the US, this would cost over $100,000. And I was like, but again, that's not my jam. Cars. I'm probably why the BMW program exists, by the way. All right. Because I was the #1 manager in the nation in 2007. In 2006, I was the first $1 million office in company history in our division. And I had an old beat up Civic that was two-tone because of the sun. All right. It was so beat up. And they would send people like Cody came to cross train and people came in 2007 to come see my office. And they're like, this is your car? It's a piece of shit. All right. But you know what? I bought it. That was my first car. I bought it with my Cutco money. I didn't have a car my first 3 weeks of Cutco. That was my first goal, was to buy my first car. And I did. And I bought that little Honda Civic in 2002. And I was very proud of that thing. All right. Even though it was so beat up. And I bought it used, I had probably way too high payments on it. But in 2007, they're like, Kathy, you need a nice car. I was like, why, Amar? He's like, you're the #1 manager in our company for a $250 million company. Like, look like it. I was like, I don't care about cars, And he's like, oh my God. And so we joke around. I'm like, I think they started the car club because of me. I feel like we can't have our managers running around with these shitty cars. But anyway, I just would never spend that much money on a car. Like I just didn't. But I remember that year, and this was before it was free. I did buy a BMW a BMW. And I remember Amar being on the phone with me when I went to BMW and looking at stuff. And I was blown away because the run flats, are they $50 or $100 for a tire? Hell no. They're like 500 bucks. for one tire. And I am damn good at getting flat tires, right? So after I replaced like 6 run flats within like 2 years, I was like, F this crap. I'm going back to cheap tires. You know, I actually got myself a really nice Lexus when I turned 30, which was back in, I don't know what year, 2012. So I bought myself a nice Lexus with normal tires that didn't cost $500. All right. And I'm sharing this because, like, I just started learning more and more about life, you know, as I was going through. Like, I never bought a big screen TV until 2006. Amar was on the phone with me when I was at the mall at the Sony store, looking at different big screen TVs and helping me look at what was what. But I was like, it's $2,000. And he's like, yes, Kathy, like, if you want an HD, you know, this is like back when all like, this is a long time ago. It's 20 years ago. Now TVs, you can get them for, you know, cheap, but even nice ones, you're going to pay money, right? You want a nice Bose sound system, you're going to pay money. And so understanding one, different markets and cost of things, right? When I was 19, I'd never priced knives. I had no idea. All right. All I saw was big numbers. And I didn't know that when it came to something for a house, we're not talking hundreds unless you're talking a microwave. Okay. We're talking thousands or even tens of thousands. You want to redo a kitchen? This is not a couple $1,000s. All right. And so homeowners know what these things cost, you know, and what and what you're going to spend. Like, we're remodeling, you know, remodeling. I'm almost done remodeling a condo that we have down in Galveston. Okay. $20,000 to just like remodel, put some new paint, fix up the kitchen, you know, do a bathroom. This is a small 700 square foot, 2-bedroom beach apartment, you know? And I had quotes for 30, 40 grand. I was able to get a friend of ours to do it for a little less, you know, they're almost done with that. But like, I had no idea before, you know, in our house that we're finishing up, hopefully in the next 3 weeks, and then we can get on the market, that we were going to sell. We have 2 kitchens. And now I'm like, why the F did I put 2 kitchens? Well, because it was supposed to be for me, but we're not going to live there anymore. But a freaking, like, our island, like just the quartz, you know, or the granite countertop, that in and of itself is over $10,000. Like the kitchen cabinets, and we're not getting the highest grade we're getting, because I'm like, I'm not living there anymore. So lower the grades, lower the grades. It's still like $30,000 to put the kitchen cabinets on a low grade. By the way, you can spend 100 or 150 grand. I don't know if you guys know that. Go to Lowe's, go to Home Depot, right? I had no clue. And so first, like, you need to know, and with mindset, there's confidence, there's expectation, but like, do you know what that market is? And so for here with Cutco, what helped me, and some of you guys might have seen a talk that I gave before, but what helped me was first actually going to the stores. Like, go to Williams-Sonoma, go to Macy's. I went to Bed Bath & Beyond. At Bed Bath & Beyond, they sell low, medium, and high. And so the higher stuff is usually in a case. And they don't even sell a whole set of the Wusthof, Blackwood, or the Shun. They sell like a knife or 2 or a smaller, because people that are, I mean, it's a diverse group that shops there. But if you're going to buy a really nice set of knives and spend a couple grand, you're usually going to like Williams-Sonoma or like a nice department store, you know, that has a higher quality things. All right. And so you guys know, so this right here with the confidence, you have to be confident that you are representing something that is the best of its freaking kind. And that came for me throughout doing my first demos. And I remember the light bulb for me, some of you who've been in my training have heard me talk about this, but it was Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez's house. My friend Jennifer, her mom was a preschool teacher. Her dad was a mechanic. They didn't live in the nicest area. All right. But I knew they cooked all the time. Jenny brought food every day to school. Okay. And by the way, when I went to go do a demo, in my head, I was like, oh, I'm totally going to sell like a $400 or $500 set. No way I'm not. And I remember thinking, because a $500 set, well, shoot, all they have to pay today is $100, right? And $100 means they just need to put aside 25 bucks a week, right, in the weekly budget. And they both work, right? That's only $12 each. And I was like, they can totally do that. And I went thinking, this is what I was going to sell. Got it? Big lesson that I want to pass on to you guys. Don't go to a customer's house going to sell them what you think they can afford. Got it? You go to a house to show them, they said to you, I'm not going to buy anything today. You go in there like if they said on the phone, I might want everything today. Go with excitement, go with enthusiasm. That's part of your attitude, and I'll add on the other thing. And just show them and be confident, because you never know. My family is never going to own the best house. They're never going to own the best car. They're never going to own the best of a lot of things, but they sure as hell have the best kitchen cutlery in the world. All right, I'll tell you that. They got a couple other things. They got Tupperware. We got some Lifetime pots and pans. We have Rainbow vacuum. My grandma was really big on buying things that lasted forever, because it saves money long term. And again, as a 19-year-old, I didn't understand that. So the first thing I had to do for my business to shift was I had to shift my mindset and understand what was out there and have confidence that I was representing something that was the best of its kind. And was everyone going to buy everything at one time? No. But my job was to show them with excitement, to show them the breakdown, and then help them find whatever was best for them that day. And for some people, that was a $2,000. And by the way, Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez bought over $1,600 for me. And they lived in Opa-locka in Miami, which is the equivalent of the Fifth Ward here. Not super fancy, more lower income. They cook like crazy. And we broke it down, and their $1,600 order was $400, they had to put aside, or $320 per month. It was $80 a week. They'd have to put aside, it was $40 each. And they said, all right, what do we got to do? But you know what? I felt damn good about showing Cutco to people. And that's something that with your mindset, do you feel bad? Which I did at first, or are you excited for them? All right. So how do you feel when you guys are selling Cutco? Do you feel bad, or do you feel excited? Because when I started, I'm going to be honest, I felt bad. Oh my God, they don't have a lot of money. Why would they spend that? Da, 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 da. And then as I saw my dad, as I saw family friends, my best friend's parents who owned Cutco since 1976, found out my grandma had it since 1957. My youth pastor sold Cutco in the 80s when he went to Virginia, to school in Virginia, and paid his way through school in the early 80s. And I kept meeting people, and everyone I met would rave and go, holy shit, that's the best thing I've ever bought. I use it every day. And I'd hear that over as I met people who had Cutco. It's the best thing I ever bought. Guess what started happening? I got really excited about sharing Cutco with people, because I knew that if I saw them, I wasn't going to have to hide in some bathroom stall when I went to like a family event, or I visited Miami for like the holidays. I felt damn proud that when people were purchasing Cutco, they were getting an opportunity to own something that they were actually going to use every day and have forever, and they could pass it down generation after generation. I think it's so freaking cool. Barbara Bourgeois from my church, she worked in my youth group. When I went into the demo for her handles were kind of red. And if your grandparents have had them from the 50s, they look red, right? All right, because they used a different material. She was in her 40s when I saw her. And I was like, wait a second. Those knives were around before you were born. And she started laughing. She's like, yeah. She goes, these were my mom's knives. And she's like, and I love them. She had a very retro house. She goes, I love them. And so I asked mom if I could have her old ones. And I bought her the new ones, the pearl ones. And I sent my mom's back to the factory, and I got them brand new. And I was like, that's badass. And so she had old school 50s knives, and had bought her mom the newer color. Her mom loved the white. So it turned out to be a nice trade. But I was like, that's so cool. And she's like, I love that I get to have my mom's knives, and that my kids, they're all fighting over who gets them, And so there's this change that excited. All of a sudden, feeling bad became taking pride in what I was representing. And I want you to ask yourself, like, are you proud of what you're showing? Or do you feel bad if people buy it? Because I did at first. And when that shifted, and when I got excited about people owning Cutco, I sold a lot more. Our number one for the push, I knew he was going to sell a lot. His older brother was one of my top reps and top branches and absolutely crushed this. There's a belief, there's a confidence. People like this stuff. People have it, and people are going to have it forever. All right. So where are your expectations? Where's your mindset? Number two, the second thing that he helped me with. All right. And I have 5 tips, but the other ones will go fast, I promise. Number two, that he helped me with was just the seed plants. Okay. Seed plants for price. I'll just put here for money. And so my manager said, Kat, you have to make sure that they know what's coming. Like, start setting that expectation, right? If they don't know you're representing something that's the best of its kind or it's guaranteed forever, all these things, and then you hit them with a big price tag, all right, which Cutco's not cheap, all right, like, you're going to catch them off guard. So are you seed planting? And I was like, what do you mean? And he showed me, and some of you guys have been to SLDM, and if you haven't, next Tuesday, I'm running the last SLDM that I will this year. And I encourage you to be at that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be virtual. We'll see. I'll keep you guys posted if it'll be at the pilot headquarters. If I can make it in, we'll see what's happening here. All right. But the seed plants were huge. And he said, from the beginning, can you joke around? Can you have fun? But can you already be subconsciously planting big numbers? Examples of this would be, oh, Miss Jones, my goal, if you're in your fast start, I'm my fast start this week. My goal is to sell $10,000. If you want to just write me a check for 10 grand, that'd be awesome. Then I'll definitely hit it. I'm like, I'm just kidding. I'm like, but keep a lookout. I'm like, we got some really cool stuff, right? Or, hey, I'm assuming, he taught me to say that, okay, by the way, this stuff is way too expensive for you to buy just to be nice. I'm assuming you didn't put away a couple grand waiting for the knife girl to come by. And then later that became, Miss Jones, by the way, this stuff is way too expensive for you just to be nice. I'm assuming you didn't put away 7 to 10 grand to redo your kitchen today. Right? And we're just joking around, going over stuff, but what am I doing? Subconsciously planning big numbers. Okay. And then as we went through there were two, like, he's like, can you say at least 10 times before prices? Can you say things like, it's not cheap, it's an investment, all right, blank costs more. All right, I'll say it right now. Give me 1 second. That's great. Thank you. Costs more, but it's worth it. Because this is important what John just brought up for Spanish speakers, by the way, because I screwed that up. When I was new, I was like, oh, es son caro, whatever. And caro is like it's like the not worth it expensive. So I didn't realize that. And one of my friends from Puerto Rico, she watched my demo because I was like, I'm having trouble on my Spanish demos. Like, nobody buys. And I'm really trying to build value here. And Yvonne started laughing. She heard me and she goes, oh, niña. And she's like, you can't say that. Caro, you're literally telling like, oh, these are not worth it. These are not worth it. Like the expensive that's not worth it. She's like, you need to say, son una inversión, which is they're an investment. Say, no son barato. They're not cheap. And so she taught me that. She's like, oh, déjame enseñarte porque estos cuestan lo que cuestan. Son una inversión. Oh, y esta es la razón que esto no es barato. And, and showed me how to do that so that I could really build value. And that really shifted things, like the words we say, they matter. All right. But this was huge. And so it was like in the beginning of the demo, we're going through, we cut the penny. Oh my gosh, Ms. Jones, did you see that? I'm like, it's ridiculous. I'm like, these are super high quality. I'm like, so obviously they're not cheap. We talk about how we make K-bar for the US Marines. I'm like, those are the knives that protect our country. I'm like, all of our, like the quality of the material, the products, I'm like, we make Cutco for the kitchen and we make K-bar for the Marines that protect our country. I'm like, you're working with some good stuff here. I'm like, so obviously it's not cheap. We'll go through prices later, but just so you know, this is the best of the best, right? We say, oh, they're guaranteed forever. How many things can you buy once, use every day, have forever, right? And so going through, he's like, anytime you can find a place to say how it costs more, but it's worth it because this, or it's not cheap, it's an investment, it's guaranteed forever. Obviously, that's going to cost more, and you're planning that. And at first, I was like freaking out. I'm like, I'm going to scare the shit out of them. Excuse my language. I'm like, I'm going to scare them. And he's like, well, if you don't do this properly and plant the seeds, then you're going to scare the shit out of them at the end when you give them the price tag. And I was like, oh. He's like, so let them swallow the pill. Let them swallow it. Let them understand why it costs what it does. And if you do the proper seed plants throughout, all right, and you build the value properly, which your manual, if you read your manual, it literally builds the value for you, all right? But pay attention. And something that's not in the manual that I keep forgetting to email them back because they were going to put it in because I get to tell the country what they should do because I'm pretty good at this. I know our national manager said, send it over, but I said, we need to do a recap. I did this always. It's helped me sell so much. Right after the 5 features video, right? It's a 1-minute video that you play for the customers. Everyone know what I'm talking about? All right. Right after that, you should be recapping. It's not in the manual. And so I'm going to have them add it in there. But this right here is what I use to recap. So Ms. Jones, real quick, to recap the 5 features you saw, the first one is that, and you go through, I'm like, they're not gonna be in order, but the universal wedge lock handle, how it fits everyone, lefties, right? I'm like, it costs a lot more to have that, but it's awesome because it fits everyone's hand comfy, it reduces hand fatigue. It's good if you have carpal tunnel and a lot of other cool perks. You know, the next feature is the actual material, right? That thermal resin, that's similar to what they use for bowling balls, football helmets, inside. I'm like, that is not cheap material, but it's worth it because it doesn't chip, crack, melt. You know, the next feature is the actual, you know, high carbon stainless steel. And so just going through each of those features and making sure that, hey, it costs more, but it's worth it, and re-emphasizing the benefits of that feature. Cool? If you're not sure about that, talk to your managers so you guys can get that. But that's a really simple thing. And it's like, again, re-emphasizing why it costs what it does. And if you read your manual, literally the top of the next page says, and the biggest reason Cutco costs what it does is the guarantee. And so, Ms. Jones, we have 4-part forever guarantee and going through the parts of the guarantee. All right. And so if you've been planning seeds from the beginning, if you do the recap on the 5 features, if you read that one phrase, you've already said over 10 times, you've already planted seeds for a bigger price. All right. Don't be scared, be confident. My manager said, Kat, if you got hired to work at Rolls-Royce or Bentley, she was like, what's your favorite car? I'm like, I want a Rolls-Royce. But I want like a 1950s Rolls-Royce. And he said, so let's just say you started working at the Rolls-Royce or the Bentley dealership. Cool? Whichever one you think is better. And someone asked you for the price of that Rolls-Royce. Do you guys know what Bentleys and Rolls-Royces can go for? Couple $100,000. You can pay $250,000. Very easy. You can pay $500,000 actually for one if you have it custom made, right? Like my girlfriend actually just got one. It was $480,000. All right, for her Rolls-Royce. They custom made it, put all the stuff in it. She picked out like it like puts her initials, you know, on the light, like all this fancy shit. All right, it's beautiful. And so she'll be speaking at my event next Wednesday. I told someone about the event. She's our wrap-up speaker. I'll share something in a minute. But anyway, that's not cheap. And he's like, imagine if you were the one selling it and they're like, oh, how much is this Bentley? How much is it? And you were like, $320,000. Do you think you're going to be a really great rep at the store? No, you're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I'm glad you asked. Be like, you know, actually this car has all the features. They build the value again, and it actually starts at a base price of this, you know? And so we've got fine, whatever, like, but you've got to be confident, which goes back to that, right? So we got mindset. Where's your mindset? What is your belief system on if people can or should own Cutco or not? Second, are you planting seeds throughout so they know what's coming with the price? Cool. The third thing he told me is as simple as this. He said, have fun. He said, you got to have fun. All right. When people are buying Cutco, all right, they are not using budgeted money. Okay. So let me explain this really fast. He said, Kat, families have a budget. Yes or no? Everyone know what a monthly budget is. Okay. And I'm going to put here, have fun, because it's not in the budget. Because it's not in the budget. So make a note of that. All right. Have fun because it's not in the budget. And I'll explain that. If a customer says to you, oh, we can't buy it, it's not in the budget, we didn't have it in the budget. No shit. Who said, let's put aside money for that? Random kid is going to call us next month and show us some knives. All right. So my manager was named John also. John said, Kat, families have a monthly budget, right? And what's the monthly budget? It's made up of 2 parts. Planned expenses, which would be things like what? I heard bills, yeah. Mortgage, all right, insurance, cars, food, whatever planned expenses they have. Everyone got it? You know what you're spending. And then there's what some people call the disposable income or expendable income, all right? Or I like to call fun money, all right? And this is used for unplanned things. Got it? Some people have very little of this. Some people have more. My family had very little of this, and my dad saved it typically for Sundays after church, where we would go to McDonald's because they had 29-cent or 19-cent like cheeseburgers or hamburgers. This is like 30 years ago. And we'd go to a matinee movie. My dad loved the movies. And so anytime we could, we would do that on Sunday afternoon after church. That's where our little extra money, if he had it, for that month, went towards that. All right. But some people have a lot, and that could go to like, ooh, shirt on sale. Ooh, these new shoes. Oh, right? Just unplanned things. And you spend it on things that you usually like, right? For some people, it's clothes. Some people, it's shoes. If you have extra money, who here likes shoes? Raise your hand. All right. Awesome. I like Nordstrom Rack. I'm a Nordstrom Rack shopper through and through. All right. My only things I pay in full are like my Gucci bags, my designer bags. I was like, but even that, I just found out New York has this amazing store I told Jackie about, called Fashion File, by the way, and it's amazing secondhand used, all the things. All right. That's where my Chanel earrings came from. I hate paying full price for shit. All right. I just hate it, but I will with certain things. But if I don't have to, I won't. But this right here, your disposable or fun money, y'all, that's where Cutco comes in. Very few people planned it. Very few. It might be less than 1% of America who might be remodeling their kitchen and have a budget for kitchen stuff. Everyone with me? Maybe. So when people purchase Cutco, it was unplanned, all right? And now if someone says to you, oh, sweetheart, we can't buy because we're going on a cruise. Is that a real reason why they can't buy? No, why? The cruise was planned. The cruise, that didn't tap into where Cutco comes from. That cruise was planned. No middle class person wakes up on Friday morning and goes, hey, honey, wanna go on a cruise tomorrow? Let's go. And just buy, or let's buy a flight. We're flying to Tahoe. Do people do that? Yeah. Upper income people can do that. All right. I'm blessed in a position now that if I want to, I can take off and leave anytime, any day. All right. That wasn't the case, growing up. And for my sister, she plans our vacation. Last year we went up to Salt Lake City, to Utah as a family. She planned and saved for 2 years for that. Next year we're talking about going to Costa Rica. Like my family, every Thanksgiving, we do one of our houses and then we go somewhere and travel. This year it's my sister's house, but they go every other year because my family has to plan and save money to be able to go on an international trip. Okay. Where if someone next week was like, yo, you want to go to Costa Rica next week? There's this happening. I'm like, let's go. And I could do that. And I'll just tap into this. All right. When people buy Cutco, it's here. So if they say, oh, we can't because we just bought a new car, that's not a real reason. That was planned. Oh, we can't, we're going on vacation. That was planned. We can't because the kid's going to college. That's planned. That has nothing to do with that. We're tapping into this. What are real things? The roof just caved in. The pipes broke. My kid just crashed the car into the wall. Whatever it is, like those were not planned. Now, people who are savvy with money do have emergency funds, but a lot of middle class, which is our target market, they might not have it. All right. And so in that case, I'll just sell them something smaller, or worst case scenario, reserve their first call special. But that's why my boss said, Kat, you got to make sure you are having fun, because when people, they've got to be excited about it. What do people spend their fun money on? Whatever they're excited about. Some people it's partying, going to the clubs. Some people it's getting a table at the club. Never me. I was the bottle girl. I go buy a bottle at Costco. We pregame at my house and then we go out. All right. When I land in Vegas for the last 20 years, I go straight to the liquor store, buy handles, then I go to my hotel, because at the hotel, one little drink costs $20-something. And that's stupid to me. All right. I will not spend money there. But I love fine dining. So Claudia knows I won't spend money on all this alcohol, but I'm like, let's go eat. I will spend a couple $100 on dinner. No problem. That's something that I love doing. That's something that I enjoy, right? So when people are buying Cutco, they're going to spend on whatever's fun for them, whatever are their interests, whatever they like. So you've got to make sure that you have fun, because you're tapping into that fun money. Do they rather buy Cutco, or do they rather go shopping? Do they rather buy Cutco, or do they rather, whatever, get new shoes or go to this party or whatever? Like, oh no, we can't. And then they go do something with the family. They cost a couple $100. All right. Well, that was just more exciting for them. That's okay. They just weren't excited about it. So Are they excited about it? Do they feel it's worth it? That's what it came down to. He's like, Kat, are they excited about it? Do they feel it's worth it? All right. Last two things, y'all. Number 4. All right. Number 4 is you got to nail your close. If you don't have that memorized already, guys, you have to, because this goes back to number 1, right? But you're showing the customer confidence as you guys are talking. That if a customer cuts you off in the middle of the presentation and says, hey, I'm in a rush. How much are these? What's the price? That you can go, oh, well, have you looked at prices of cutlery lately? Oh, it's like anything. There's such a wide range of quality and prices. Cutco's top rated, so we only compare to the highest quality stuff. And so have you been to like Williams-Sonoma or Macy's and ever seen like Wusthof or Schoen before? Yeah, these are top rated in stores. These brands have different sets that actually range in price. Kind of like BMW, like 3, 5, 7 series are all different prices. Same deal. All right, and so this is their top of the line. The Wusthof that you see there, it retails over $3,000. You can find them on sale for about $2,300, especially during holidays and stuff. And even for that price, like they are worth it. They are the top. Now, there are some major differences between us and them. And then now we talk about Cutco. I'm like, yeah. And people in Cutco, they'll tell you it's like 10 times better. And you can go through. Can you confidently close? Memorize this as soon as possible. Even if you read, record yourself. I'll tell you right now, this is my number 1 tip for this. Record yourself saying it or somebody else. If you want to take it up a level, put it to a beat because your brain remembers. All right. Like when it's a song, your brain remembers it. All right. So put it to a beat, put it to a cadence, or just record yourself and listen to it. You got to have your close down. All right. The more eye contact you can have during that part. And he was like, Kat, you could just read it and go, did you want to buy that? And you'll sell 6 out of 10 times with about a $400 average order. He's like, but if you want an $800 average order and you want to close 8 or 9 times out of 10, you got to have a little bit more eye contact when you're asking to spend big bucks. All right. And lastly, number 5, write prices down. And he said, Kat, not just for you, your customers, they have to see the numbers in front of them. If you have given numbers and talked about a lot of numbers randomly, all right, they've got a bunch of numbers spinning around in their head. That's not going to be good. All right. You're not going to be able to maximize if that's the case. And so you need to make sure, because who's heard this saying? A confused mind doesn't buy. All right. It's not going to happen. They're like, what just happened? What was going on? All right. And so you guys are spitting out all these numbers. And I'll tell you guys, the number 1 thing you can do, go do live appointments. All right. I'm sorry, but COVID watered down our world. It is so fun. You talk to the Cutco, they like to go to the house. It is so fun going to the house and doing the demos and chopping food with them and then feeding you and laughing and building relationships and getting a shit ton of recs. All right. And I'm a believer that you get more recs on live demos, but that's just because I have more fun on demos. And if you're having fun, you're going to get lots of recs if they have fun with you, period. Right. But you have to do a little bit more if you are on the phone. And I talked to a couple of our guys yesterday in our office. I said, spend the $15 a month. Zoom is $15 a month to have unlimited time. Because if you could do the free one, it cuts off in 40 minutes. Y'all, $15, let's call it 16. I think it's $15.99. $16 a month, $4 a week, y'all, for your business to be able to show your face. Those of you who in here is more of an introvert, a more quiet person, raise your hand. I learned this business from introverts, by the way. And this is what they did. Oh, Miss Jones, look at this. Oh, check this out. Oh, you're gonna love, like my mom loves this. And like that was a very energetic Peter Sheets, who is one of my mentors. And he was a computer information systems, IT guy. Even more important that they see your nonverbals if you're not animated. Because y'all, over half of communication is what? Nonverbal. Yes, body language. And you're cutting that off when you're on the phone. So what do you have to make up for that? Almost 60% of communication is nonverbal. We have to make up for it with what? Tonality, like excitement, like your tone, your delivery, right? The words are the words. Words make up, and there's all different studies, about 10% of communication. All right, about 30%, give or take, 27, 32, whatever, but about 30% is actually the delivery of those words, right? The speed, the diction, the excitement, the slow, the fast, all the things, right? And then 60% is nonverbal. And so it makes it so much easier when you go, oh, look at this, oh, check this out, oh, you know. So get your asses on camera, all right? If you're not gonna drive to their house, spend the $4 a week to have full access to Zoom, all right? So that you can chit chat with them, look at them in the face. You don't have to get to the level of the top guys where they actually share their screen through the whole presentation. Guys, you send them the link, they're gonna see it on their side. They just get to see your face. But it allows you to share your goals, right? Your slideshows, which, who here has their slideshow done? Raise your hand if you have a goal slideshow. Raise your hand high. Holy shit. Are you kidding me? All right. Managers. Team meeting workshop this week, goal slides. Got it? Please put that on your dockets. Having a goal slide is the #1 most impactful thing that you can do for your demo, period. Because they get tied into who you are and where you're going, outside of just selling knives. If they're looking at you as the knife salesman or the knife sales girl, you might get 2 or 3 recos if you're really good, or they know a lot of people that might be interested, you might get 5. But if they really capture who you are, where you're going, how this can benefit you, and they really look at you as you know, a motivated young person, older person, family person, motivated mom, whoever you are, but like they see you as a person, and they see your journey, and they see how Cutco can help you on that journey, you are gonna get so much more out of it. You're gonna get so many more recs. You're gonna have so many sales that might have been on the fence that'll turn into yeses. You're gonna increase your average order because now they're like, who else can we give Cutco to as a gift? You know, we got a wedding coming up, we got birthdays. You know what, let's get ahead of on Christmas and July specials because they like you and they'd rather help you than the store. Got it? So I don't care how good of results you've been having. Once you have your goal slideshow, it will elevate you to another level. I've seen that for over 2 decades. Every time my guys got their goal slideshow, it was like, boom, like the energy shifted. They felt more connected. They were having more fun on their demos. And obviously they were getting a shit ton more recs, all right? But the big thing for me is when you're closing, when I'm there, I'm sliding stuff over and showing them. Well, if I'm on the computer and I'm not able to show, or I'm on the phone and I can't write down the prices, it's a little bit more difficult. And you can also like, you know, like Zaman yesterday was doing for me. He's like, oh, write this. He did a good job. Hey, write this down, write this down. But he didn't tell me where. I just started writing numbers randomly, all right? And I said, if you tell your customer, okay, hey, can you write down 4,600? And then, hey, can you write down 3015? And then can you write down 1613? And then can you write down 325? And then can you write down, and then my kid falls and I go, oh shit, come here, baby. And I pick him up and then I turn back and I go, what the is this? I'm confused. I'm the one that wrote it down. I don't even know what the hell he was just telling me. A confused mind doesn't buy. So you have to actually be even more skilled on the phone to get prices right, to increase your orders. But if you're on the, I can just show it to them and I'm like, oh, Miss Jones, this is only, and I had a notebook, or you can have a, you know, a legal pad, and this is what it looked like. And I said, hey, 4,600. And then underneath that, Miss Susie, and even if I'm virtual, so live, I'm writing this and sliding it. So when I ask, do you want to buy that today? They can stare at it and make their decision, okay? But if I'm on the call, I'll do this and I'm done, guys. I'll wrap up. I'll say, Miss Jones, we're at the bottom of page 9 in the closing. And I say, and at twice the price, even if we use the sale price, Miss Jones, we're looking at it's 4,600. Can you please go ahead and write that? And I show them this and I say, and I put it onto the camera. I say, can you go ahead and write that on the top left? Okay, awesome. And then I keep going on page 10. I say the homemaker, da, 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 da. The great thing is that it doesn't cost 4,600, Miss Susie. So if you can do me a favor, go ahead and cross that out on your paper that you have there. Again, I'm on the computer right now, right? So I want them to write it down because when I ask for the order, I want them staring at this. Everyone got me? Not some shit ass mess that they wrote because they had no direction or nowhere to put stuff. So I said, hey, and do me a favor, right underneath that, can you go ahead and write down 3015 or whatever number it is? Just, you know, but I'm like, Miss Jones, that's the retail price of the Wusthof, cool? And actually, we're not even as much as that because we're not in stores. So you can go ahead and do me a favor and you can go ahead and cross that out as well. Let me know when you're ready. Okay. And then Ms. Jones, underneath that, go ahead and write down, where are we at now? 1680? 1650? All right, cool. It should be more. I'm like, Miss Susie, go ahead and write down 1613 right under that. And by the way, that is the price of the Homemaker. It is almost half the cost of what you're going to find in stores at retail, and it's guaranteed forever. I'm like, and you could pay for it in full. It does include the shipping, but most of our customers, I'm like I said earlier, didn't put a couple grand waiting for the knife girl. So they'll usually use our Easy Pay. All right. And it actually allows you to put down a deposit with taxes and stuff here in Houston. It comes out to $349 if you want to go ahead and circle that. All right. If you're not in Houston, then I would just put, $325 plus tax, because every state and city is different. And I'm like, I Miss Susie, this is, and I keep writing this, and it's hard to write and hold microphones and all this, but I'll write it down and I'll say it's 100% refundable deposit. You can try it out, see how you like it, and then go from there. I'm like, so I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, and I ask, and now they can sit and look at their paper. Got it? Because most people are not just going to say yes right away. That's a very small percent. And if they do, you should sell a lot more. Should be upselling them to the bigger orders or accessorizing the heck out of it. Okay. But this gives them to think and to go, just like my customer who said, we can do $40 each, right? Or other customers I had who said, oh, 25 bucks, $12 each. Yeah, we can do that. I go, yeah, this would be your deposit. You would get it. Again, Miss Susie, it's 100% refundable. You have 3 weeks to use it. Make sure you love it. All right. So 3 weeks to try it out and just see how you like it. All right. Worst case, send it back. You get 100% of your money back. Okay. You had free Cutco. Highly doubt that'll happen. So you can either call and pay the whole thing off, or they'll charge you the same amount each month, which breaks down to this here. Cool. We have something called buy now bonus, but now they can sit and look at that and they're like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. You will have a lot more sales when you guys do this. So again, to recap, we said there's 5 things. Number 1 is what? Your confidence. All right. How do you feel when you guys are going in? Are you confident you're representing the best? Do you feel good about where we are in price point? Y'all, we are literally half the price at retail than your top stuff in stores. And we are guaranteed forever. And theirs are not. You will replace them. Number 2, are you seed planting so that they're expecting big numbers as you guys go throughout? All right. Number 3, are you having fun? Because it's not in the budget. And so if they're going to buy Cutco, they've got to be excited about it because it's tapping into their fun money. All right. Number 4, do you have your clothes down and are you nailing that? Because that's going to exude confidence when you guys are talking about prices. Okay. And then are you writing numbers down clearly so that they can then look at it after you ask and they can go, do this right now. Yeah, you know what? What do you think, honey? All right, let's do it, right? And if you want to close those big orders, all right, that was my first $1,600 order was Mr. and Mrs. Ramirez. That was the exact process. And when I had this written down and it said 1,600 and I put over here that it was 320 and this was 100% refundable if they wanted to try it out. And then I broke it down and I said, it's $80 in the weekly budget. And it's $40 each, always with a smiley face. All right, that was me. All right, but they knew they had 3 weeks so they could try it. And I said, is that something you guys would feel comfortable putting into the budget? And they stayed quiet. He goes, what do you think, honey? She's like, I can do $40. She's like, you can too. We just got to put it in the budget. Okay, they talked. They said, do you take American Express? I said, yeah. He's like, we'll take it. I was like, what? Don't do that to your customers, by the way. I said, really? He goes, come here, Kathy. He took me to the garage to teach me about his Snap-on tools. But anyway, this right here, that sale changed my career when I had that sale. And when he said to me, I'm going to recommend you to people from the shop and people from the neighborhood. He's like, you need to understand that is not a lot for good tools. We've all spent thousands of dollars on our Snap-on tools and our Craftsman tools. Like the guys from the shop, they know good tools. When you go see them, Kat, you need to say, Cutco is like Snap-ons for the kitchen. And you need to go through it and you will have a lot of sales. And I did. All right, I did. And so I just want to share that with you guys today because those 5 steps, those 5 concepts changed my business. It really did. And we really took off after that. And then it was going to things like what's coming up now, which Jacob's going to talk about with all the morning, the morning meetings. And I went to the workshops and I got to the conference. SC1 conference was life-changing for me. I met so many Cutco sales professionals, saw how they did things, got great tips, made unbelievable relationships that really skyrocketed my success. And it was after SC2, or after SC1, excuse me, that I actually sold about 40 grand of my summer. Came after that. I came in July and August. I sold about 40 grand of my summer. And that came from going to SC1. And so I want to hand things over to, where did Jacob go? I saw him in here. But that's your tips. Hopefully I go through.